Morning, everyone. I hope you are doing well in those days. Today, our lesson is electrolysis. Yes, electrolysis. From the name of my title, we can see we have two parts in electrolysis. When we say electro, it means it refers to electricity. Lysis, it means breaking down. So, through these two terms or these two parts, we can define electrolysis as what? It's the breaking down of ionic compound, and the ionic compound should be in the molten or the aqueous state in order to uh, do this electrolysis, and this is done using the passage of electricity. So electrolysis, again, it's what? It's the breaking down of ionic compound in the molten state or aqueous solution by the passage of electricity. Let's see how can we do this electrolysis. In order to do electrolysis, we need electrolytic cell. This is the electrolytic cell. This electrolytic cell is made up from a battery here, wires, and they are connected to two rods. Those two rods, we call them electrodes, and they are dipped into a solution. That solution, it's ionic solution or molten ionic compound, and we call it electrolyte as it can conduct electricity. Okay, so electrolytic cell is made up of battery connected through wires to two electrodes. They are dipped into electrolyte that allows passage of electricity. Okay, components. We start with electrolyte. Electrolyte, it's ionic compound. It should be in the molten or the aqueous solution in order to have what? Free ions. We can conduct electricity through ionic compounds when they are solution or aqueous or in the molten state only. In the solid state, we don't have free ions in order to move electricity or conduct electricity. Okay, so electrolyte, it's ionic compound in the molten state or in aqueous state in order to have those free ions. Also, we have electrodes. Electrodes, each one has a name. The one that is connected to the positive end of the battery is called anode, and it's positively charged. The electrode that is connected to the negative end of the battery, it's called cathode, and it's negatively charged. Okay, and you have to know these two statements, and we will explain them later on. Anode, anox, cathode, red cat. Okay. How does my electrolytic cell work? First of all, I will start from my electricity source, which is battery. Here, the battery will give me electrons. Electrons will start their movement from the negative side towards the positive side. Okay, so here we can see this is the direction for the electricity movement or the electron movement from the negative side towards the positive side. Okay. So as they are they are moving through the circuit, they will enter the electrolyte. It's a solution. We know that electricity current or electrical current, it's the passage of electrons. How can electrons continue their journey through the electrolyte? We have free ions. Free ions will carry the electricity and the electrons through the electrolyte in order to maintain the electrical current. Okay, so I will start with electrons. They will move from the negative end toward towards the positive end, and they will pass through my electrolyte. The passage will be through my free electrons from my electrolyte. Okay, so again, electric current will continue through the electrolyte using free electrons in order to carry my electrons, using free ions in order to carry my electrons. The positive ions, they will be attracted to the negative electrode. We call it what? Cathode. While negative ions will be attracted to what? Negative will be attracted to the positive electrode. We call it what? It's anode. So always keep in your minds, the anode is positively charged electrode, and the negative ions will be connected or attracted to it, while the negatively charged electrode, it's called cathode, and the positive ions will be connected to it. Okay, so we can summarize the concept here as opposite charges are attracted to each other. So negative ions go towards positive electrode, which is anode, and positive ions will be attracted to the negative electrode. We call it cathode. Okay, so golden rules here: anode is positively charged, and anox, it means oxidation happens at anode. Okay, anox, it means oxidation takes place at anode. For what? For the negative ions. As we mentioned before, anode is positively charged, so the negative ions will be attracted to that electrode in order to be what? Oxidized. Okay, so all the time oxidation takes place at what? At the anode. Okay, those negative ions, they are the nonmetals of my electrolyte. Okay, so nonmetals will be formed on my anode. Cathode. The cathode is the negatively charged electrode, and as we mentioned before, red cat. What's the meaning of red cat? It means reduction takes place at the cathode. Okay, using what? This is negatively charged electrode, so the positive ions will be attracted to it, okay, in order to be reduced. So which type of elements will be reduced? They are metals. So the positive ions of metals will be reduced on my cathode to form metal atoms. Okay, let's continue here. I will start electrolysis with molten compounds. Molten ionic compounds. Principles. My electrodes here are made of graphite. Okay, this is my two electrodes. They are made of graphite. What's the meaning of graphite? It's carbon compound. It's macromolecule compound, and it's made of carbon atoms. Okay, why we use graphite here? We have two reasons. It conducts electricity, so it's conductor for electricity, and in the same time they are inert, so they can carry electricity without being changed. Okay, so let's see what will happen if we put a molten ionic compound inside a container and we put two electrodes connected to a battery here, and we start heating up my electrolyte in order to melt it. Okay, so step number one, electrons will start flow from the negative side of the battery towards what? The cathode here. Okay, then heating up my electrolyte will melt my ionic compound. So ions, they are free to move. They will start moving their movement toward the oppositely charged electrodes. What's the meaning of that? It means the positive ions will be attracted